In this video, we're going to use the Pythagorean identity, sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1, to find the value of sine of theta to the nearest hundredth, given we know what cosine of theta is. Just a reminder where this identity comes from. This is unit circle trigonometry. See if I can get a circle going here. Right, this is unit circle trig. So you should be or have been getting familiar with, sorry, having a hard time drawing a circle here. You should be getting familiar with this idea that when you're in the unit circle, meaning the hypotenuse is 1, then this is the x coordinate of that point and that's the y coordinate, then that point can be thought of as x comma y. But again, cosine of theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. That's just x over 1, which is x. Sine of theta is equal to y over 1, which is y. X squared plus y squared equals 1 by the Pythagorean theorem. But of course, that's just saying the same thing as, since x is cosine of theta squared plus sine squared of theta is equal to 1. That's where this identity comes from. So let's use it. We're asked to find sine of theta given that cosine of theta is 0.54, and we're in this quadrant here, so we're in radians. And since we know that this is the same as 270 degrees and this is the same as 360 degrees, we know we're describing quadrant 4. Okay, we're in quadrant 4. So let's see, let's imagine we're in the unit circle. We're in quadrant 4. We know that cosine of theta is 0.54. That's the x coordinate of this point here. Right, so imagine you've rotated theta. It brings you there. We know that this is 0.54. We want what sine of theta is, but of course we can just use the identity. Sine squared of theta plus they're the same, but sine squared of theta plus cosine squared of theta is equal to 1. And then we just have to make sure we keep the negative, because this length right here, right, that is the sine of theta, which is clearly a negative y coordinate. So sine squared of theta, cosine is 0.54, squared equals 1. So this means, go over here, sine squared of theta equals 1 minus 0.54 squared. And we're going to keep the negative square root again, because it's clearly a negative y coordinate. So sine of theta is equal to negative the square root of 1 minus 0.54 squared. We punch that in the calculator. So I do, let's just do it this way, 1 minus 0.54 squared there, and then second square root that answer. 0.84, what did it say to round to? Hundredth? So we round to 0.84. So sine of theta is equal to negative 0.84. That should make sense because it's a negative, clearly it's a negative y coordinate, and that agrees with our visual in front of us.